guys, welcome back to the Richard Fernando Investing channel. A huge thank you to all of you legends out there, all you US, UK, Aussie, wherever you're from actually, to all you legends who have been kind enough to subscribe to the channel, to leave comments, to keep the chat going. The few of you as well that have actually reached out personally and sent me emails and that sort of thing, or connected on LinkedIn. I mean, that's really cool and I appreciate it. Today is basically going to be a bit of a change of pace because I've noticed that so many stock investing YouTube channels are out there that why not actually get my personality out there as well and my other interests and kind of mix them together. And if there's an opportunity to do that with a base still in stocks and investing, then I guess why not? But again, subscribe if you're new, and if you have already subscribed, be sure to share it with your mates if you find any of the content decently interesting. Today we're going to talk about football being the football that people would know of in Europe. So if you're from the US, soccer essentially, but how it kind of links to finance and investing, and how if you want to be part owner or invest in the general football community, that you actually can. So there's three main ways, and I'm going to kind of explore them in a decent amount of depth, but again, this is more of a fun, relaxed video just to kind of put my interests together in the one place. Okay, so the first way though that you can get involved in football investment and investing in football clubs is through the equity markets. This is not financial advice, but if you are looking at it as a stock related thing as opposed to a gift idea, for example, or just a fun anecdote, I definitely recommend the Robert Kidd article for Forbes or the Jack Brumby piece on Stockopedia, which basically goes into the idea that US franchising model for sport could move over to European football, and the general money from sponsorship, merchandising, and mainly broadcasting deals could continue to climb and result in bigger flows of money in the game. So for example, Jack Brumby actually talks about the fact that the compound annual growth rate for the record transfer fee year on year has grown about 20% which is unreal. Compound annual growth rate over the past 2 decades or so, which actually it means if that general trend continues, that we could be seeing an £1 billion football transfer within a decade, which, I mean, it's unfathomable right now, but that Neymar transfer 2-3 years ago was ridiculous even for the time as well. So, I mean, anything's possible, especially with just the amount of crazy money coming in with certain owners, especially with the billionaire owners that come in and kind of treat their football club as just a show of, look how much money I've got, essentially. And that is where the general perception, by the way, of football club investing comes from. A lot of the time clubs are listed on their respective exchanges. So, I mean, easy example of that is Olympique Lyon in the French league. They are actually listed in France, naturally. You've got Juventus and those sorts of clubs as well, which, yeah, if you can buy stock in those and access those markets, then you genuinely can say to people that you pay Ronaldo's wages, which, I mean, yeah, a bit of a flex, why not? And then Manchester United as well is a big one, which have historically been in England or on the English exchanges, but have actually moved so you can access them in the US, which makes it much easier for just everyday investors like you and me to kind of actually access it. And there's others, Ajax, Dortmund, there's plenty, there's heaps. But the main idea is that you'd look at it more as a gift idea. Why is it more of a gift idea in terms of perception? Well, basically, even if you look at the articles, it gives you that impression. It's the fact that in the past, it's definitely been seen more as just a fun thing to do as opposed to a good industry to be in. And it is a very volatile industry. If you go through the articles again, they do really make a deep dive into those criticisms and why some funds have actually kind of bucked the trend and seen it as a genuine business prospect. But it's just a very volatile industry. Think of a club, think of your favorite club, even if they are decently successful. How many times have they been able to really win things back to back in a way that has been financially, I guess, secure? Because if you look at it, even Real Madrid, for example, they have to invest huge sums of money, even when they did win the few Champions Leagues back to back, to bring in players that were capable. And with the way transfer fees are moving, I mean, it's pretty rough going in terms of also being able to meet financial fair play rules, which is something Manchester City's had trouble with. And on the other side, how many clubs have really had that Real Madrid level of success in terms of continental success and really actively growing their brand while also reining in the spending a little bit? It's not a very easy thing to do. And so definitely look at that, look at the public markets, the stocks. That's the most obvious way. But then you've also got things such as, I guess you could call them sort of a private equity offer. If you look at AFC Wimbledon, FC United of Manchester, there's these clubs that are owned by the fans. And so those clubs naturally come in kind of protest to poor ownership of an initial club. That's basically what those two clubs have been born out of, where they've just said, you know, we're kind of fed up of the ownership of this club we love so much, so we're going to make our own, run by the fans, owned by the fans, in a kind of protest, although, you know, obviously it's gone beyond a protest and they actually become, you know, their own fully fledged club, which is really interesting. And I hope that kind of ownership model becomes more common around all the European leagues, but I mean, it's highly unlikely for them to be competitive because of just the sheer financial backing that a lot of the big clubs have right now. But further to that, for example, if you look at Chattanooga, I think I pronounced that right, in the US, and there's literally a company called Fan Owned Club, and what they do is they hope that you'll join on WeFunder and you put money in and then they buy. I think right now they're trying to raise money for a club in Austria. I could be wrong on that, but it wasn't even a top tier club. And they're hoping to bring investors together and say, hey, you know, we are gonna find a club, own it, and we're gonna run it. This is our business model and how we're gonna do it. And they hope to get investors in. They hope to basically turn these investors into fans as well. They outline their path to Europe and to European money, to continental success, all that sort of thing. And you can own a club from the ground up, or from as close to it as you realistically can in this world. And so that's a really interesting ownership model. Definitely check out WeFunder and general kind of public crowdfunding or crowdsourced ownership models. I think it's really interesting. I hope it becomes more common. But the main issue with a lot of these, because it's been done before, is the fact that after a while, the kind of novelty wears off and people don't really keep up to date with it, and the club slowly dies off a little bit. They don't really end up feeling that growth for a long period of time. And there's been examples of that in the UK. Hopefully these examples can be different. Hopefully, I think Chattanooga's been doing quite well, but I hope the fan-owned club venture in Austria, I keep saying Austria, but it could be wrong, continues to bear fruit for them once everything kind of goes through and the money comes in. But it definitely attracts a lot of interest. So the second main reason, which explains why I've got the Wanda Metropolitano Stadium, Atletico Madrid Stadium, is to actually invest in a conglomerate that has interests in football, or a fund, for example. But in this case, Wanda is listed, and you can access that pretty easily on the public markets. And they used to own 20% of Atletico Madrid, but I think they sold a lot of it, and then they sold their remaining portion to help bring in Yannick Carrasco, or to finance the purchase of Yannick Carrasco and Nicolas Gaitan, I think it was. But they still own a team in the Chinese Super League. They recently bought Dalian Yifang, which has Hamsik as well, off memory. And so, again, that's a more, I guess, broad exposure to football as well, because they obviously have the stadium sponsorship, or the stadium in Madrid named after them. And they also have, I guess, this big interest on broadcasting rights as well, which is a whole other side to football that you kind of forget you can invest in. So definitely check out Wanda and that whole Wanda group, which is based out of China. Okay, so the third and final way, though, is definitely the most interesting, the most fun. Maybe don't look at it as a pure play investment. It's more so like you collect art, for example, because you can kind of display it, enjoy it yourself, or even wear it. In the case of football kits. So football kits, I'm a big advocate of #WearYourKits. If you look at classic football shirts in the UK, or David Vujanic, so spelt Vujanic, look him up on Instagram or on YouTube. He's a big advocate of wear your kits, and I believe in that as well, in general, not for all of them. But yeah, there is huge value in collecting old football kits, especially from iconic periods in certain clubs' history. If it's just a general good-looking kit like this one is, I mean, look at it. The colouring on it, the collar. This one has something written in here. Someone's gone and kind of ruined the resale value. So that's why I'm not really kind of irked by the idea of putting it on and wearing it. But in general, look for kits that are interesting, and hopefully they'll appreciate or have appreciated in value and will continue to do so, especially as that player becomes a legend, for example. But if you're looking for old kits, yeah, just look for iconic times, iconic designs, that sort of thing. For me, I've got, I don't know, I've got a bit of everything, but a 1995 Real Madrid kit, because Zamorano played in that era. Great players went through and played during that period. I've got a 90s Inter kit with Zamorano on it as well, but I'm still looking for the Holy Grail one with the plus symbol in the numbering. I've got a 1994 Brazilian kit from the World Cup, or of the World Cup kind of style, with a full, like the whole team has signed it, which is unreal. And a Fiorentina kit with Batistuta on the back as well from the mid-90s. Not the Nintendo kit, but I think it was a Samantana Gelato. Maybe I pronounced that wrong. But in general, all of those kits have gone up in value since I bought them. Compared to the price I paid for the Brazil kit, I genuinely think I can get a 300 or 400% return on what I paid, which is unreal. But the idea for me, more so, is just collecting them. It's just crazy to me though that you can buy these and they don't really depreciate much unless you really do something like, you know, write something in black text all over it, or yeah, wear them until they're too beyond repair or don't look too nice. But in general, look how good they look after so many years. They're definitely, the older ones are also made of kind of a more durable material from what I've seen. They're not as much for performance compared to the kits today, but they're nice and thick in terms of material, so they last a bit longer. And so that is definitely my favorite way to invest in football and in sports in general, is buying old memorabilia. That can go beyond football kits though. That can be that kind of framed stuff that you see every now and then, or football boots, match worn stuff, old tickets. People collect cards, of course, especially like baseball cards, that sort of thing. Definitely the most interesting way. But before I wrap up this video, I definitely want to say that if you have anything awesome that you collect in, I would love to hear about it below, because I mean, I collect random stuff. I've got old 90s Japanese Pokemon stuff in my other room here. Yeah, there's a bit of everything. So if you've got any questions about football, ownership, finance, that sort of stuff, ask as well. And if you have any kind of interesting thing that you collect, yeah, let me know. Thanks for watching.